Hello and welcome to this special show on Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya, and here we take a stock of the battle against COVID-19 pandemic. Now, one very important aspect in this particular fight against COVID-19 is how to go ahead and, tackle this particular disease in terms of taking medicines, prescribed medicines. But of late, what is being seen, a trend rather of self-medication based on certain social media messages, or perhaps due to anxiety as well amongst several people. Now, this will become very, very dangerous if self-medication is gone ahead with. That's what the advice of the health ministry as well as the health professionals have been for quite some time. We'll try and talk about all the details with respect to the perils of self-medication today, why it happens and how it can be avoided. For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Dr. Anil Gurtu, Director Professor and Head of the Department of Medicine at Lady Hardinge Medical College. We also have with us Dr. Anant Mohan, Professor and Head of the Department of Pulmonary Medicine in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, and Professor YK Gupta, President of AIIMS, Bhopal. Welcome, all of you gentlemen, to Rajya Sabha Television. Let me begin with you, Dr. Gurtu. Since you deal with COVID patients on a daily basis and must be also dealing with several queries from general public as well regarding COVID-19. What exactly are the perils out here, obviously, of self-medication? But where does it begin? Is it only anxiety amongst common folk like me and several others might be that whether we are infected or we are not infected, or what should we take, eat or drink or take in terms of drugs?
Yeah. So self-medication, whether we locate it within the current COVID pandemic context or otherwise, this is actually a behavior. It's a behavior. It's been with us for a long, long time. And this behavior is located within a particular cultural context, the culture of medicine taking and prescribing, that whole culture. And within this is located a behavior, and this behavior we choose to call self-medication. So in the context, framing it against the current context of ongoing pandemic, COVID, this COVID pandemic has also thrown open the windows which reveal the same spectrum of behavior as we observed earlier, though albeit it's framed by COVID-19. What is it? Yes, it's quite a lot of concerning behavior. First of all, this behavior is located in a belief system, the health belief of that patient, his belief, and that we all carry our health belief systems within us. Even I carry as a doctor, which is often very irrational. Likewise, all patients do carry. Now, that health belief system generates a certain self-diagnosis. This morning, I woke up with fever and cough, therefore, it is COVID, or therefore, it is not COVID. It is just what my grandma told me, common cold will go away with the Nimbu Pani or whatever. So that health belief system leads to perception of the symptoms, that leads to self-diagnosis. And that self-diagnosis at the individual level forms the core of everything that follows, the behavior. What follows is then the actions. Now, what actions have people been taken in terms of COVID-19 that we face every day? One, delays in going to the doctor. Because I know this is not COVID, this will go away, or because I'll be stigmatized or whatever, that health belief system signals the person to stay at work or home and not go to the doctor. And now we know that delays in accessing the healthcare system translates into poorer outcomes also. So it broadly translates into poorer outcomes because you have self-diagnosed and taken a decision.
Okay.
One. Two, we know that this hypoxia, that is a fall in the levels of oxygen because of COVID affecting our lungs, leads to an affective euphoria. Emotionally, one gets very euphoric, like a steroid effect. And that euphoria generates a certain confidence in one's judgment. I am right, nothing is wrong. I can go about life as I have been. So that it's also called happy hypoxia by some people. So that is hypoxic euphoria. And that is another physiological factor compounding the health belief system, leading to delays in approaching the hospital with bad results. One. Two, we are inundated with the demands, patient driven demands, insistently, persistently, and very, very aggressive. Start me on DEXA. I need DEXA. And we know that DEXA with normal oxygen levels is dangerous. Two, ivermectin. People are starting ivermectin on their own. Hydroxychloroquine. Actual patients come with us. They have started hydroxychloroquine day one of fever. And there have been very fatal and sad results emerging out of this behavior. Likewise, plasma therapy. And that was hell for us. It inundated, it knocked upon our doors day and night, give us plasma, give us plasma. And to the extent that we were almost, we had difficulty, and we used to get together and form teams to say no insistently, and this thing, you don't need plasma therapy as of now. Likewise, there were pressures on us, even are now today, for remdesivir, for tocilizumab, map, which is a very dangerous drug to use. And they go, if we disagree with them, they're so convinced that they go to a private hospital or private setup and get it. Plasma therapy coming late, pulse oximeters. Now, pulse oximeters as a self-management is a very good tool, provided it's monitored by the doctors and the medical system or the paramedical system. But patients are normal patients. Normal, absolutely. They're monitoring their oxygen levels and going into panics and starting hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and multiple cocktails, all on their own, abetted and backed by local systems. So that has been the spectrum of this problem as we face it today. Here.
Okay. Dr. Anant Mohan, your views out there, as Dr. Gottu pointed out, it's anxiety, the health belief, as well as a few more factors which contribute to people resorting to self-medication. But it becomes really dangerous, and specifically with COVID-19, wherein most of the drugs are experimental as of now.
Yes. So health belief and the other health belief model is, of course, central to understanding why do people behave the way they do. The other thing is the practical issue. Practical meaning the access to a doctor or a medical system in times of need. That access is a very big problem, and time. The time is livelihood. A whole day gone at the hospital queues and meeting the doctor and then coming back, going to pharmacy, going for labs and all means a day's wage gone. So that a day's wage equates with livelihood, equates with why not do it on our own? Why not talk to my friends? Why not just Google or look up what it is and start? And let's see as it comes. So the practicality of the situation in which our patients, the poor patients, or even the lower middle class patients are located in our hospital is also a very important factor. The access, the time delays, which translate into livelihood loss, lost wages. So those are the practical issues, along with the health belief model and the physiology of hypoxia in some cases, which generate that kind of a behavior, which I call irrational, but it's perfectly rational from the point of view of that person located in his or her belief. Let me bring in Dr. Anant Mohan as well. Dr. Mohan, if you can hear me, your views on these all aspects, specifically the perils of self-medication out there, as explained by Dr. Gottu.
Correct. I think they are all. He has explained it very well, and the perils are basically not just limited to COVID. We are talking COVID here, fine, but actually the same problem has been there since time immemorial. Actually, that self-medication problem always has been there. It's just that now, because of this disease, we are trying to look at it from that perspective, because there are some medicines, because unfortunately there is no medicine for this disease as of now. Whatever is there is experimental or partly experimental. And so medication in any form, self-medication is always going to be dangerous, except for the locally made remedies, which is fine. Any medicine taken irrationally is going to be harmful. And whether it is the paracetamols, the most common medicines which are abused are probably the antibiotics. Everybody with a sore throat goes in for a short course of antibiotic because they all know about it. And also in the last 6 months, in the COVID era, because of the so much constant hammering of the various medicines which have come up every day and night in every channel and every newspaper in print everywhere, that this particular medicine may have a role, then that particular medicine may have a role, plasma therapy may have a role. All these incite a panic reaction, as already has been mentioned. And because people are educated, they know what is going on, they are aware. Everybody wants to find out and wants to have all the medicines available, and whether it is the hydroxychloroquine, whether it is the doxycycline, azithromycin, the remdesivir, and also one of the most important is the favipiravir also. Even favipiravir is being used right, left, and center by people on their own. And remember, none of these are time tested for this particular disease. In fact, some of them have got definite side effects on the liver, the kidney, and even the simplest one would be the acidity, the acid peptic diseases, not to mention all the other side effects which are relatively rare but may occur. Hence, it is very important for us to kind of drive home the message that as of now there is no confirmed medication,
Okay.
but one should be rational. So go to a doctor, don't take medicines on your own. Go to a doctor, let him make the right decision as per his judgment or a collective judgment of his team. Whatever it is, they will do for the patient. But please do not take the medicines on our own in a kind of a domestic or a household setting. Especially the steroids and all these are pretty harmful if one just keeps on taking them. So that point has to be driven home. Whatever
Okay.
has to be done, fine. Even though we don't have medicines available, but let the decision be taken via qualified medical personnel.
Okay, let me bring in Professor Y.K. Gupta here as well. Professor Gupta, as both our panelists are pointing out, Dr. Guttu and Dr. Anant Mohan as well, that self-medication is a problem which has been with us for quite some time, but it becomes more compounded or more acute in the present scenario, that is vis-a-vis COVID-19 pandemic, because the drugs which we are talking about here and which being every day based on every new research or evidence we get to know about new drugs, those are still considered to be experimental drugs. As far as COVID-19 is concerned, effects are not very clearly known or established as well. So the situation becomes more problematic when the adverse reaction starts happening.
I would say that when a doctor prescribes any medicine to a patient, he prescribes on the basis of his diagnosis, and he prescribes the right drug in right dose for right duration, and he forewarns that these are the possible side effects, these are the possible drug interaction. And if a patient himself becomes doctor, then it is going to be disaster. Why? Because if a doctor is not consulted, if the patient is taking himself, he does not know what is the right drug, he does not know what is the right dose, and if he is not knowing that if this is the right duration, then if any antibiotic is prescribed, it will lead to resistance, and this will not be a problem for him, this will be a problem for the society and for the nation. It can also cause serious side effects. It can be liver, it can be kidney, the paracetamol or the aspirin or NSAIDs, they can cause a liver problem, they can cause kidney problem, and if an antibiotic, this can cause resistance, this can cause systematic problems. The another thing is any drug can cause drug interaction. If the two drugs are given together, if the two drugs of different pathies are given together, there is an unknown drug interaction, there are known possibility of drug interaction where the physician can only tell us. The problem could be that if you take a drug for which is masking the disease itself, it can cause much later problem.
Okay.
Therefore, the self-medication is not a disaster to the patient, is disaster to the community as well. Now, as you have referred to the COVID situation, as Dr. Guttu and also Dr. Anand Mohan has said, this is because people are anxiety, people do not want to go to the physician because they think that there may be adverse consequences. Perhaps they wrongly believe so. And in this situation, the majority of the drugs are still experimental. No full information is available. Even if they are available, the person must not take it. Therefore, because you have all those drugs which Dr. Anant Mohan mentioned, they have to be given with great caution because there is a risk. Any drug has a risk and a benefit, and the risk benefit assessment can only be done by a person who is well qualified for that, and that is the physician. Therefore, if this can be not an adventure, this can always will be a misadventure. Only few drugs which are considered to be safe, which are usually called in Western world over-the-counter drug. Here they are called as a non-prescription drug. Even those drugs should not be taken at the time of COVID. Particularly, I would also say even homeopathic, Ayurvedic drugs, they should also be taken in consultation with the expert. There we have a huge, rich resources in our Ayurvedic system, in our Indian system of medicine, but they must be taken after due consultation process of the respective system doctor.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Anant Mohan, I'd like to bring you back here. All of you pointed out to the fact that this is sort of a behavioral aspect there, which responds to anxiety or health beliefs out there as well. But as an institutional, mechanism, in terms of putting in place an institutional mechanism, what is that sort of mechanism which exists out there to counter this self-medication, or there are certain gaps which need to be filled as well?
See, gaps are there in the sense, like already has been mentioned, especially for COVID. People have a fear of coming to hospital. That is one. They fear that they will be quarantined, they will be suddenly put away somewhere, transported for 10 days, 14 days. And then they think that, look, it's only a mild cough, little bit of sore throat. Why should I go through all that? I can very well be isolated at home and I'll take care of all that. So all that would be fine, but that decision again has to be taken at the level of a medical person. And there are certain criteria which the government has laid down, which makes a person eligible for being home isolated. Otherwise, he has to be in hospital. Again, that is for the benefit of the society and his family at large. So, and hence he starts taking the medicines on his own. He will take a course of antibiotic on his own. He will take the anti-inflammatory, the paracetamols. He will start doing the gargles. And then by means of hearsay, he will start taking the other and over-the-counter drugs also, which are just being thrown around in the media or in the public or by hearsay that these may have some role for this particular disease. Okay. And more often than not, he will be able to purchase or get some of those medicines at least, and he will start taking. So at the end of it, we have seen people with a prescription of more than almost a dozen medications. In one prescription, we have seen almost a dozen medications of all possible medicines which were kind of advocated for this particular disease, whether or not they were required. And he had nothing but simple sore throat. He was in the mild category. So if this is there, I'm sure this would be on a very, very large scale across the country. The systems to put in place cannot be only at one level. They have to be starting from the individual level, starting from our own insight into what we are doing. And then they have to be at the level of the prescriptions. They have to be at the level of the pharmacist, maybe that he should not give those medicines at this particular time without a proper prescription, just like it has been done for the RT-PCR testing also. Okay. So earlier it was based on prescription. And so these are the measures which can be taken at the level of the doctor. It is the doctor's duty also to make sure that he informs the patient that what he should and what he should not take. All these things have to be done at a multiple level, I would say.
Okay. Dr. Guttu, your views on what needs to be done, because this is one problem which obviously has been with us, as you pointed out, but it becomes really, really serious in a pandemic situation like the one which we are facing right now.
First of all, we need to form a partnership between the three actors involved in this drama of self-medication. One, the patient himself or herself. Two, the physician who prescribes or does not because he doesn't enter into the picture. And 3, the pharmacist who dispenses. So these then 3 are the 3 actors over the stage upon which this whole drama of COVID and its management is being enacted.
Okay.
This partnership, physician, patient, pharmacist, should be allied with the media, social and the traditional media. Because as Dr. Anand Mohan said, when the signals all around you say, if you have COVID, take doxy, start ivermectin, don't go to doctor if you are feeling okay, everyone recovers. So where's the scope? So every signal points you are okay. So the patient also believes in that. So the signals from the media have to be modulated. So this partnership, 1.
Okay.
Second, as I began, we have to focus on the anthropology or the perception of our patients, because it's very simple for us to sit here and decry or deride the patient behavior as irrational and ban this, don't do that, don't do this. Nothing will change by that kind of an attitude. We have to understand what is generating that perception in the COVID times, and perception believed in equals reality. If so long they believe in that, that's as real for them as saying no is for me. It's perception equals reality. So we have to understand their health belief model. How are they arriving at that perception? Here, in my own analysis, because we are assailed by this kind of a demand of this and that and those, as Dr. Anand Mohan said, 12 drugs. That's a very, very real situation today. So I can simplify this whole thing into 3 things: the patient's ideas, the patient's concerns, and the patient's expectations. ICE.
Okay.
What are our patient's ideas? He or she wakes up one morning feeling a bit tired, exhausted, a bit feverish, some running nose, pain in the throat. That's all. That idea generates, oh, it's just flu. I've had it so many times. So what? Idea. Concern. That is the emotion. Concern comes, well, everyone's having this and getting cured. Media tells me the message is all around, so I will also recover. What's the problem? Concern. Third is the expectation, the most important thing, expectation. Now, what does he expect from us when he comes to our hospital? A long line, a whole day gone. Perhaps he'll be forced into admission or isolation, and then a whole lot of other processes, which will take him or her away from his or her day-to-day daily wages, livelihoods. Okay. The patients who come to our hospital are like that. So the ideas, concerns, and expectations lead that person away from what we expect by our traditional medical models into saying, so be it. Mm-hmm. Let me try out what my grandmom says, what my friend says, what others are doing, and this, that, and ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and doxycycline, azithromycin, all as a cocktail they start. Someone suggests start recording your oxygen, so they get a pulse oximeter and start recording their oxygen on their own. So these behaviors are perfectly understandable, and 95% of them, they recover, and that sends out a further signals, diffusion, the cultural diffusion all in the neighborhood. So it's okay. So this is the level at which we have to understand the behavior, their ideas, their concerns, and their expectations, and the problems that they generate. And once we understand this and locate it in the larger partnership of physician-patient, create a partnership between physician and the patient primarily, and the pharmacist also, and link it up with the larger. The larger media, the media signals.
Okay. Professor Gupta, your views on what needs to be done, as both Dr. Guttu and Dr. Anand Mohan are pointing out, specifically looking at patients' ideas, concern, and expectations as well. Also ensuring that this has to be a behavioral change issue.
I would say very pinpointed answers. Number 1 is the communication through you or media, print media, electronic media, educating people that don't do self-medication. This is a misadventure. It can lead to disaster. Let the doctors do their duty. Don't become doctor, because you will harm yourself. That is 1. Number 2, when you do self-medication, you have to get the drug from the pharmacist, from the market, or from your neighbor. So there are regulations that they are not supposed to give the drugs without medication. So the enforcement has to be stricter and stricter. Like there is a rule, there is a regulation that no antibiotic should be prescribed unless this is needed. And that's what the AMR, antimicrobial resistance, is. So no pharmacist, no chemist should be allowed to dispense the drug to any person unless this is followed by the prescription. Number 3, the prescription of another person must not be used by another person. It is the habit of Indian and many times anywhere that I use the prescription of my mother, my sister, my neighbor, because he suffered from COVID. So I think that this drug will also be useful to me. So the pharmacist must also validate the prescription. So there are 2 important levels. One is the awareness in the community. B is the strict enforcement.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so there it is, awareness and strict enforcement to ensure that self-medication is done away with, because there are several disadvantages of having to do self-medication, specifically in a pandemic situation like the one which we are facing right now. If you have any symptoms, if you feel unwell, then please consult your doctor. Do not indulge in self-medication. Also, a very important aspect here is ensuring a COVID-appropriate behavior, that is wear a mask, covering your face and your nose clearly. Also ensure that you wash your hands regularly and maintain physical distancing of at least 6 feet. This is the basic protection against COVID-19 for you and your dear and loved ones as well. There it is. We thank our guests once again, Dr. Anil Guttu, Dr. Anant Mohan, as well as Professor Gupta, for sharing those insights with us on self-medication. We'll come back again tomorrow and we'll bring you some more details. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.